And there's Joe.
Nice Windows Phone ringtone.
I haven't silenced it. It's still went off.
Oh my gosh!
Was that
Welcome to another Biddle live on Saturday night with the phone gone off. You know, a Windows phone probably, right?
No, I
sounded like to me.
it's that fruit thing. It didn't know when to stop.
Oh my gosh! So, what's going on? We have Joe. We have Chicken. We got PZ. We got some guy. Dark one.
Matt. Yeah.
Yeah. We have Ryan and we have Dreaming Wolf. Dreaming Wolf, can you hear us?
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you, brother.
Yeah.
So Rocco and I have come up with a solution for people having audio issues.
Yep. We are going to patent a Play School
tablet
that you can use to get your audio working. So
Matt's going to be our first customer because he doesn't know how to use computers. So
he obviously can't get his audio working in Discord. So,
oh boy.
Hey Ryan, I got some words for you outside of the Crom show there, buddy.
Well, the sad part about this whole thing, Joe, was we were in Discord for probably 15
20
minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
And
minutes.
we were ripping on Matt the whole time because he couldn't get his audio working. And he heard every single word.
It was the greatest conversation I've ever had with Matt, actually.
It was. He couldn't talk back.
So it was kind of like any conversation we wish we had with Ryan.
Pretty much.
Or Michael. No, just kidding.
Michael's not here to defend himself, so I'm going to pick on Ryan.
But that's the best time to pick on him.
That is the best time. You're right, Joe.
Hey, that'll be new, picking on Ryan.
Yeah.
If you say touch digital while turning in a mirror 3 times, he'll appear.
But the difference is when Michael's not here, at least you can get a word in edgewise to turn around and rip on him for.
Wow. Wow.
You just need to learn to talk over him.
See? Hey. There he is.
We love Michael.
I just want to let you guys know that we are live. So,
Hey,
darn it.
It's not like it's being recorded or anything. I mean,
No, not at all.
What's happening,
I
Chicken?
got a little bit of news. For
Oh,
this.
okay. Go, Joe.
Well, I am now on an AMD machine. There you go, Ryan. I'm on an AMD Ryzen 1600. I moved my 1050 Ti over to that machine from my workstation. I was on Peppermint up until this morning. Sorry, Zeb. I didn't know how I was going to finish it. I have Peppermint still on the other machines. I didn't take them off of there. They're fine. But when I tried gaming on Peppermint, I wound up with some really bad static issues, and I was able to figure out what was causing my boot issues on Ubuntu Studio, which was the .xconfig file. As soon as I took that file out, which was causing me the same problems on Peppermint, from a video standpoint with booting, it was fine, but I had static issues on Rocket League and whatever, and as soon as I went on the Ubuntu Studio side, it was fine. So guess what I'm on now? Everybody take a quick guess.
Fedora.
I bet you I can guess.
Linux from scratch.
I am back home. I'm on Ubuntu
Mate.
1804.1.
That's a good one.
Choice.
Nothing
Good
wrong
choice.
with that.
Well, I had a problem with 1804, but 1804.1 as of today, right now, as of this minute, is running really well.
Excellent.
And if it stays that way, I won't be moving for a long time.
Yeah, we all say that, Joe.
Keep telling yourself that.
That's the clear sign of an addict. The ones that are like, well, I'm never going to do it again. And then next week, a different.
Well,
distro.
I am at the point of no return with this
Next
Ryzen
hour.
because I just sold the motherboard from the other machine today. So I'm done.
Speaking of distro hopping, Chicken, how many distros did you try this week? Look at him hiding.
Hey,
funny enough, only one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Hello, by the way.
Hello.
Colin.
hey, everybody, welcome Tim. Tim, what's going
Hi,
on?
Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Howdy,
I'm
howdy's ladies and gentlemen. Nice to be able to join this evening. Hope everybody's well.
Hi,
Good to have you, Tim.
Thank you.
Tim.
oh good.
Hey,
All right,
Dan,
continue on, Chicken. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm
I-
sorry, Chicken. That was my fault.
No, you're good, man. You're good. I've been on Ubuntu for like a few weeks now. I haven't moved off. The only thing I've done is like a reinstall for the point release. And
Wait. Are you saying that's like GNOME?
Yeah, like no.
Wow.
That's so awesome. I love it.
Are you
No,
just
Rocco,
getting
it's
tired
GNOME.
of hopping all the time?
GNOME.
Is that it?
No.
It's not necessarily that I'm tired of hopping. I think a lot of it has to do with just that, like, I'm getting a lot of work done, and it's just been easy, especially with recording videos, because I have to have like my RAID setup intact. So
by getting a lot of work done, you mean you finally got the 400 gigabyte movie file moved?
Yeah, we got it broken up into smaller bits so we can
The issue
actually
is
process them.
there's a point in which splitting compressed files no longer works.
Huh. I didn't know that. Of course, I've never tried to burn Gone with the Wind, but I never knew that.
In 8K.
Yes, but I think he said that he likes GNOME's workflow. I think that's what I heard.
I do actually, and also the theming, which is flexible as Plasma is. Themes on Plasma is still kind of terrible.
Agreed. Totally agree.
And
Themes
we
is
all
the-
know
one of the
looks are the
downfalls.
most important thing about a distro.
Yeah, we'll all agree at this point because Michael's not here.
I was going to say, listen to the silence. No one disagreeing. Wow. So we're going to have a whole week of hating on KDE and Plasma. Michael's going to be seething.
That's all right. He can handle it.
Oh, yeah.
A 4-hour video.
He's a big boy. You can deal with it.
I was going to say, Chicken, you're only going to jump when Juno comes out, and you know that.
Well, he's
I
saying
don't have a choice.
you don't have to jump.
No, he doesn't have a choice. Barb.
No, the thing about Juno is that it always catches you. It's like a fluffy trampoline.
Barb, you're going to jump to Juno. I'm predicting that.
I
Nope.
saw her thumbs
Nope.
up as soon as I said that Ubuntu Mate word.
I'm staying with my Ubuntu Mate, and I'm very happy with it.
Nice.
And
You go,
parent
Barb.
security on a different machine. And I'm a happy camper.
All right, so we have to talk about our distro challenge because
Oh, really?
somebody was ridiculous enough to put up Sparky Linux for us.
I was going to say, do we really have to talk about it?
Let's blame
let's
Ryan
get
because he wasn't here last week.
Last
Yeah,
time I
let's
did
get it
a
over
video
with.
on Sparky Linux, it didn't go so well, so see you guys.
Well, did it work for anybody?
Actually
Like everyone, nobody
All right.
stayed with it.
Well, mine's just finished updating, so I didn't get a chance to actually finish it before the show. So it's
No
just
lie.
finished now.
No lie, that's the same thing, Colin.
Uh,
Same exact thing.
But I installed, in my defense, I installed it a couple of days ago and it just went blank screen. And I just said, had enough, done deal, move on.
How
How
long did
funny!
it
I had that problem with Arch.
All right, so who did actually try, besides Colin, who tried Sparky Linux? Matt?
I did.
Yeah.
I have a lovely, interesting piece of hardware with the Sony Vaio Duo.
Why?
That lasted all of an hour on that machine. I spent more time setting it up than it actually stayed on it.
Oh my gosh.
Closest I came was downloading it last week before the show was over, putting it in the VM, and that was it. And then I've been messing with this stuff all week, so it's like, why bother?
Chicken, you'll appreciate this. I'd rather use Chaos.
That
Chaos.
is not okay.
Wow.
Hey, if
That's
you
saying a
like
lot,
KDE, Chaos isn't bad.
It's a mess. It's
No,
very
it's-
chaotic.
That's the name.
In what order is that?
Man, Sparky
Oops.
was not a fun. See what Bodhi, it tries to do what Bodhi does, but a whole lot worse.
We heard part of that, but when you get your new Fisher Price tablet, we're going to see.
Wow.
Work perfect.
Wow.
They sell it at Best Buy.
It was your internet connection cut out a little bit.
Yeah. Sparky is essentially
Fizzled.
it wants to be what Bodhi Linux does. it wants to be a base to build on, but unfortunately, when you throw the kitchen sink with the base, it makes it a little hard.
Matt, can I tell you something? It just dawned on me. I couldn't figure out for the life of me who you reminded me of for the longest time when you set up that new mic. You look like the tech version of Wilson from Home Improvement.
Oh my god! You need to
That better.
Yeah, there you go. You're always hiding behind it.
I love it.
And we have a Tim in chat too. Thanks, Tim.
Yep.
I haven't seen Home Improvement in so long.
Life tool.
I love that show.
Chicken, I'm surprised you even know what that is.
It's so good. Tim Allen is one of my favorite comedians.
I haven't blown anything up today, and I haven't sawed anything. We're good.
Yet.
Yeah.
Supposed to bring back The Last Man Standing this year. It'll be on Fox affiliated channel.
Oh, sweet.
Starts
awesome.
in October.
I heard that several months ago, but I don't know if it holds true.
It does. The commercials have been on Fox, and I think it's like the first week of October, I believe.
I've been so busy YouTube hopping, I haven't even looked at the TV in months.
YouTube hopping. Is this a new thing? YouTube hopping?
Sure.
How come we didn't know about this, Rocco?
Colin knows hopping.
I've been watching a lot of Kevin James.
Sparky Linux too.
Oh, good.
I watched.
Nice.
Yeah, I wasn't on last weekend, but I did watch it Sunday morning, and you guys threw that out there. So I went and got both the stable and unstable versions.
My condolences.
Actually, yeah.
Great.
The unstable seemed to have more stuff in it, but it didn't work. But the stable version had less stuff in it, but it did work.
It's funny how that pans out.
Yeah.
Zeb, what was your experience?
Well, I managed to get it installed easily enough. The base Sparky is just a typical Debian installation. You then go into Aptus and you get presented with this plethora of desktops. So thanks to Matt, and that's what the main challenge was meant to be. I put on Manakawawi, or however you pronounce it. I think I called it Malady or something in the Telegram chat. And
You called it malarkey, Zeb.
that's the one, yeah. And it works, but I don't see what they're trying to do. They've got the typical sort of like LXQT menu that isn't an LXQT menu, but once you've typed something into search, when you go back to search for it again the next time, the bit you typed in is still there.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah.
You know where that's fixed, Zeb?
Do I know when it's fixed?
That's being fixed in Lubuntu. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's already fixed, isn't it? I think the last time I tried it was fixed.
But the thing is, I don't think it's an LXQT menu, is it, Matt? What is it? What menu do they use?
It's a custom shell based off GNOME. It's an HTML5 desktop basically.
Yeah, but so yeah, it sort of worked, but it's not something that I could live with for a long, long time. That's for sure.
I think one of the cool things.
A day and a half.
What they build into it is get on your nerves.
I mean, if it's HTML, that should mean it's fairly easy to edit as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't looked at actually editing it and whatnot, but the implementation that I've seen from Sparky is not the full implementation. They're missing things like the default plank settings and a few other things. It doesn't pull down all the stuff that goes with it. So
some things I would certainly like to do, if possible, is something that I'm kind of missing from GNOME is the ability to kind of search for something in there and like get like a web result. Like when you open it, it goes into the browser. That would be a really cool feature that hopefully could be easily extended onto it.
Well, I was going to say one of the side panels actually has that ability to search Google and Wikipedia. I think it's the left side, right side. It's one of them.
Yeah, it's like double ravens.
But it goes against the whole philosophy in Linux of do one thing and do it well.
I feel like that philosophy is so outdated.
Well.
You know, when you look at the Sparky website, I might be incorrect, but one of the developers doesn't even own a computer. Correct?
What?
He does everything via his cell phone.
I've read that before. I have read that before.
So
I don't know if it was Sparky or something else, but
The Sparky cell phone app.
Well, considering one of the developers is only using a cell phone, wouldn't you expect stuff to be missing?
That's true.
Yep.
I mean, this kind of rule of thumb there.
well, I'd expect my cell phone to connect properly.
Well, Carl Schneider is not able to make it tonight, but he did want me to pass along some things about his experience with Sparky. He said he wanted to weigh in on it. First, the bad. So the X screensaver needs to be put down in a field somewhere.
That's fair.
And there, I don't have it on my screen right now because the menu's open. But the screensavers are ridiculously from not even the 90s. I think from the 80s.
Oh God, yes.
Right.
Flying toasters.
First thing I did was turn them off.
Yep. He disabled the screensavers.
I remember that one.
Remember flying toasters?
Yes, I remember.
Flying
it.
toasters.
They look like the Flintstones on acid.
Yes.
Yeah. With the Flight of the Valkyrie is the background music.
Yeah, the toasters had little white wings on them.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, I remember
And the
that one.
Flight of the Valkyrie music went with them.
So he set the power manager to lock the session after 15 minutes. And this would bring up the X login, not LightDM. And then it would say his password was wrong. So there must be some type of conflict somewhere. He said that there's a conflict between making the themes inconsistent between different apps.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a chance to look.
That sounds more like a Linux problem, to be honest.
He said Open as Root didn't work in PC Man FM.
Huh.
But I don't know. I mean, is that the file manager by default, PC Man?
Yeah.
FM?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
What a choice.
Yeah. And the only other issue you had was screen tearing in Firefox. So, but he did. Let's see here.
So that was the bad and the ugly. What was the good?
Things he did
installed.
He said it was super fast. He liked the Alt F2 search feature. I don't know. Did you guys check that out?
Isn't that standard now, though?
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of
Alt F2? Let's have a look.
It should bring up a command run.
Yeah. It's like Katie's runner.
Right.
No, nothing there.
No.
He did change all of the LXQT and OpenBox themes to Breeze. And he also created a new Sparky wallpaper, which I wish I could show you, but I can't. And it's probably one of his best wallpapers. I told him he should probably, donate that to the Sparky Linux guys because they need it.
Yeah, because it's terrible.
That showed me. It's like, yeah.
Is that one of these Reflect ones, Rocco? Was that one of the Reflect ones?
It has a logo in the center, a multicolored logo, and it has Sparky Linux on the right-hand side going vertically.
Sounds like his Reflect. These Reflect ones are really nice.
It is really nice. So I wish I could show you, but anyway, that was his thoughts. He wanted me to pass along because he's not going to be here tonight. But
cool.
Anybody else try Sparky? Tim?
I did not. I saw the challenge last Sunday or Monday. I can't remember when I watched you guys, but no, I've been having problems trying to get anything 1804 based running on my newest laptop. So a couple of weeks ago, I went back to Ubuntu 1604 with Unity, and I've just stuck with that. I haven't had time to distro hop at all.
Robbo?
Yeah, I did try it. I installed it twice because the first time it failed completely, and then the second time I just got a lot of bootloader errors coming up when I tried to reboot the machine, and then it just kept launching itself into those daft screensavers. So I just closed the lid of the laptop, and then it overheated, and now it won't power up. So
wow. That was such a good experience.
That was a success.
Well, the overheating part is where it gets its Sparky name from.
That probably was. I thought they'd got into
Just a
hibernation.
quick question: who's got a television on in the background or something?
Oh, that's me. Hold on.
All right. It's just that your mic's picking it up.
Yeah, a little bit. So, is that all the Sparky Linux news we got?
No,
I think so.
I got the LXQt version, and
Oh, hang on, we might have someone else who's done it.
I
might have the
got the
dolphin who's done
LXQt
the
version. I
Sparky
threw it
challenge.
into a virtual manager, and it seemed very sluggish. So I yanked it out and threw it on actual hardware, and it still seemed sluggish, even trying to get it all set up. So I ripped it out and threw in their multimedia version that's just pure open box, and that seemed to run pretty well. Got stuff set up, but I could not for the life of me get Pulse Audio to recognize the motherboard audio, even though the ALSA side of things would see it. The Pulse Audio wouldn't.
That's exactly the same as I had.
And
I
I
had
could
that
not
exact
get
same
Kden
thing.
Live to install either. Those were the only two real bugaboos I had. Everything else, I still have it on one of my other discs.
And don't you think it seems strange, though, that their multimedia version couldn't pick up the sound card?
Exactly. That's what confused. It got every other sound output in my system, just the motherboard. And when I went in and looked in the ALSA mixer, it's right there. It just won't come out through Pulse Audio.
You know
Yeah.
what? Now that you mention it, I didn't have any audio in mine either one I tried. And I went to the ALS audio mixer, and there was stuff there you could change up and down and stuff, but it would not go through to the Pulse Audio so I could hear it.
Yep.
Where is Simon when we need him to fix Pulse Audio?
Yeah.
Simon hasn't been here for a while.
Simon's probably still fixing it from the last time Ryan complained about it.
Dolphin.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's happening?
Dolphin.
How are you, buddy?
We know
Oh.
not to ask you to if you installed another distro besides them.
I took a quick look at LX2 QT just because we every now and then get interest in LXQT, and I don't know, it's something else.
If you figure out what it is, let us know.
Wallpaper, because we're giving it some love tonight.
All right. Well, before we
I didn't catch it there. I see you. Very good.
Before we move on to the next topic, a little public service announcement that we've been getting a lot more people in the Zoom chat, so it's harder to get your point across sometimes. So everybody should try to be as respectful as possible to the person talking so that they don't get talked over, because this is all about you getting your opinion out. So you don't. The last thing you want to hear is you try to get your opinion out and somebody starts talking over you. So all I'm asking is everybody respect everybody.
Red
Can you raise our
Ripper.
hand to speak?
I got to ban Zeb. Hold on.
Sweet.
I was actually in Micro Center today, and they had the thread rippers in the glass behind the case. You want $650 just for that chip.
Nice.
Why didn't you pick one up, Dan?
Or two.
I wasn't there to get a CPU. I have one that works just fine.
But you could have joined Team Red then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd have welcomed you.
Does the one you have rip threads?
Don't start that again.
Well, I've got a question for you guys who play Ballistic Overkill. Now, some of you play with, I believe, a controller. Is that right? Does anybody play that with an Xbox controller?
No.
I do not.
Can you connect?
Michael.
Sorry. Oh, does he? So you can connect Xbox controller to Linux, is that right?
Yeah,
No,
Steam will pick it up just fine.
Steam.
Works
Oh, okay.
perfect. There you go, Colin.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The cool thing
What I
about
do-
it is that all of that kind of controller handling stuff is built into Steam itself and is not necessarily dependent on the game, meaning that the game doesn't necessarily have to specifically have controller support for Linux. It's more that Steam handles it and passes it through.
Okay, so you just connect that to the USB, is it? That's it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there is a Linux driver that has to be loaded, is there not? Or there used to
No.
No.
It's
Okay.
in the
I've
kernel.
never had to.
be? Okay. Well, I'm talking probably 12 months ago, but I mean, it was
way back. You had to have the Xbox driver.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Right. Because I'm thinking about maybe in the near future, maybe joining some of your games, but I might just chat on Discord and let my son play because he's pretty good.
He's still going to go down, Colin.
I've been learning through with the keyboard and mouse, and it can be a challenge. I mean, there's a convenience to the controller, but my understanding always was that to be more of true gaming on a PC, the best way to do it is with the keyboard and mouse once you learn it.
It can depend on what type of gaming you're doing. If you want more analog control, a controller is the best way to go because you have that kind of range of input, whereas a keyboard is just off or on.
Yeah.
Everybody will tell you that if you play a game like Rocket League, you should be playing with a controller.
Yeah.
Although I play with a keyboard and mouse, and that's why I'm probably not that good. So Michael, he plays with a controller, and probably 90% of the rest of the Rocket League players do because of how much you have to move in the game. The amount of things you have to do at one time. I guess the controller allows you to do that better. So.
Yeah, but doesn't Michael have some sort of like silly grip where he's holding it like this and holding all sorts of pressing buttons?
He does. He does. What he ends up doing is he puts his 2 pointer fingers and middle finger on the top of the controller itself, which I'm not used to doing that. When I had a controller, I would use the two top fingers to control all 4 buttons. So I would be switching from the top to the bottom. Yeah. Well, that's how Michael handles it.
I
couldn't do that.
No.
Now, will it work wirelessly, or is it a strictly USB connection?
It depends on what kind of wireless controller you have. So some use the Bluetooth standard, which a lot of the newer Xbox controllers do, but others use the standard like 2.4 gigahertz, kind of like you need an adapter for it type thing.
Yeah, because I used to have a plug-in USB adapter, wireless adapter for it, and then you had to put the driver in or whatever. And then when that went bad, I could never get anything working again. Now I've got an Xbox One, and I do have a Bluetooth dongle, but I have not tried them.
It depends on when the controller was made. So they didn't add support for Bluetooth Xbox controllers until like the Xbox One S. Remember when they started doing the controller customization stuff?
Yeah.
That's when they started building in Bluetooth to the controller. So before that, it's still using the standard wireless connector. But the good thing is that the adapter for the wireless signal should just put in as like a standard USB signal into the computer. So you shouldn't have to worry about drivers for it.
Okay, because I do have the Xbox One S, and believe it or not, I just boxed up the Steam controller I bought. I just can't get used to it. I'm used to having the 2 joysticks, and that drives me crazy. It's just terrible to play with.
Well,
Ryan, do you use a keyboard?
What's that?
Do you use a keyboard and mouse for all games, or?
Most games I use a keyboard and mouse. It depends. If I'm playing some console games, which we know Zeb would hate, then I'll use a controller for that. But otherwise, keyboard and mouse. It's just more precise.
I really like the driving games with the controller.
Yeah,
that's okay. I even got I don't have all these fancy wireless controllers you guys are all talking about. Like every I don't know what that is. Everything I've got wires all over my desk here. I got a mouse over here. I got three of them going to the camera and the microphones. I've even got a wire controller for the Nintendo Switch that we play, and that thing's like portable. It's like this big, right?
They're so nice though.
I got but the little controllers are so tiny for that, but I got the great big like Legend of Zelda, deluxe
that looks
controller.
So pretty.
It's awesome. I love it. I just wish it looks like a USB port. I've never tried it on my computer. I don't know if it'll work there.
I think it's USB-C.
I have this one's a USB, like a standard USB connector, but it's got but I got a Logitech for the computer. It looks like a PlayStation controller.
That's pretty cool.
And Frank is in the house.
Howdy,
everybody.
Frank.
Hey, Frank.
Uh-oh, I think I see Michael. Nope, it's just Michael's room.
We can stop talking about KDE now.
Yeah.
That's his 24-hour stream of his room. It's a new thing he's doing on his channel.
So is that your... Go ahead, Zeb.
I was going to say, is this Frank Martin, the arch advocate?
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, I tried to get on Sparky Linux for this thing, and Sparky Linux doesn't want to work with Zoom.
Oops.
I just gonna let everybody know I did time check. It was 7 seconds before the Arch user mentioned he was an Arch user.
I did not bring it up.
He was asked. In his defense, he was asked.
Okay, so going back to controllers, do you guys have a preference between like Xbox, Steam, and PS4 controllers?
I've never used a PS4 controller, but I heard it works like flawlessly with Linux and Bluetooth mode, so I'm kind of interested in that. Whereas the wireless Xbox is kind of annoying.
Some of the things are about the controllers is it depends on if like just basic comfortability matters to you, because you can adjust to just about any controller over time for the most part. I've noticed that a lot of people I talk to, even PS4 users, will prefer the Xbox controllers just because they tend to fit your hands better just at a shoulder width angle. Like they're just better designed for ergonomics. But I mean, a PS4 controller is a little thinner. It requires a little more stretching in the middle, but it's not all that different for the most part.
So I have all three of them, and I prefer the Steam controller is my first preference, depending on the game. Second preference would be Xbox controller. Although the PS4 is fine, you can game on it fantastic.
It's gotten a lot better.
I played, the full new God of War game on the PS4, and the controller is fantastic. It's just, I think the Xbox, like Chicken says, fits your hand better.
Yeah, it just depends on the size of your hand as well. I find the Xbox just a little bit too small. And after a while, I start getting finger cramp because I'm having to hold it, whereas the Xbox just sits there.
Wasn't it EB, Rocco, that told us Zeb is like 7'3" in real life? So that may be why giants usually can't get their hands.
That's why he only drives semis. He can't fit into anything else.
That's his like a commuting car.
Hey! Don't knock. That's what I do for a living.
There you
Pretty
go.
good.
Far be it from EB to exaggerate those guys.
No, he would never do that.
No, never.
Found EB to be completely verbatim, honest, and truthful at all times.
I agree, Dolphin.
As well
Love the use of Latin as well.
That's his modus operandi.
So, Michael, welcome to Team Red. Is that a Red Hat shirt you're wearing?
No.
Okay, never mind.
It's AMD. No, it's not. It's a evil server shirt.
Sweet.
He's not a Team Red guy. He's a Team Green guy.
Lame.
No, I mean, as far as like what I want the next time, it will be AMD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm converted.
Well, Zeb already broke the news that he's what, Zeb?
The Vega 64 is going back.
Oh, yes.
How about you just send it to Michael?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. I really like that idea. It's fantastic.
Well, if you pay the package in posting and $500, it's yours.
I don't like that idea anymore.
It's probably going to be
less, just no more.
It's probably going to be $500 in shipping.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Which is the postage and packing. Sorry, it's just British terminology.
So
Hey,
is this the
Rocco.
same? Sorry.
Go ahead, Colin. No problem.
Is this the same? This is the same graphics card that Ryan's got, isn't it? It's exactly the same.
You got to know how to use a computer to utilize.
Wow, Zeb.
As you can tell, I don't have issues with it, but
Ryan's the i3 guy. Don't forget.
That's right.
Your i3 Mensa.
It's really hard to use. What you do with AMD, which is completely unlike NVIDIA, is you plug it in and then
Pray.
that's it.
Then hope it works.
Drivers built in and everything works. But
You plug it in, having mortgaged your house, and then get less frames per second than you would do on a $250 NVIDIA card. So
yes, Zeb, you're correct.
How do you know, Rocco? You don't have one.
That's not fair.
I have a 1080, so.
AMD's only been worth getting for the past year and a half.
Yeah.
So they haven't really had enough time where you get the older generation.
Yeah, they're a pretty new company. Yeah, they're a pretty new company, huh?
Oh,
Look, Phoronix has
No, it's a year and a half
like
of
a
worth.
decade ago.
You cannot believe me, but you can believe Phoronix, and the 64 does a fantastic job competing against the 1080 and the 1080 Ti. It does not beat them at all things. In some cases, the 1080 wins. Some cases, the 1080 Ti wins. But the Vega is right there with them. So there you go.
My purpose of getting it would be, one, is a decent card, and two, it'll be at least a year and a half now. So that Vega 64 might be reasonably priced, and also because it's respecting the freedoms.
Yeah, the open source. What's open source mean to you, Zeb?
In terms of compute power itself, the RX Vega 64 is very, very impressive, very capable card. It's just sometimes it can have a little trouble in how it's implemented in terms of drivers, whether it be.
Yeah. It's fantastic when you're sitting in a nice studio and you've got one perfect PC here against one perfect PC there, and you've got a guy who's got 16 degrees in how to do these benchmarks, and it works. And then you put it in the real world, and it's like, what?
No, see, the thing is it's getting too hot. Just get a water hose and just keep it cool.
I saw you doing that, Chicken. I mean, we don't have the best display here, but at least I don't have my great grandmother's drapes up there either. So
hey,
Wow.
lots, buddy.
Oh, that's what the cat's out of the bag.
So Zeb, so what kind of difference in frame rates were you actually seeing between these two cards?
Well, my 1060, which only cost me $250, gets somewhere in the region between 60 and 80 frames per second on Euro Truck, depending on whether I'm going through a busy town or an open road.
Okay.
Yeah? So with the Vega, I'm getting 80. That's it. It wouldn't go over 80. It wouldn't get into the hundreds and the 110s that Ryan said he had from that card. And even when I turned it down to the least set of value, so I had everything on low, it just about crept up to 90.
Oh, I have something that might help.
Twice the value, twice the cost, those 10 frames per second.
There's a couple of things that happened with Zeb that are unfortunate. Number one is he ordered a weird card, not his fault, but it was a weird card because not only did you have the two PCIe connections that you had to install, but it also had two thermal fan connections that were cables that were to go from the motherboard to the card, which, for instance, on my card, I don't have. The thermal throttling is read through your PCIe slot and all of, your normal way the card would interact with the motherboard and kernel. His had two separate fans that literally in the manual that he sent me said, these two fans, if you don't connect them, handle your thermal throttling. So as the card gets hotter, these connections to the motherboard would be monitoring the temperatures and then increase the fan speeds. But they didn't include the cables with his video card.
Yeah,
so that honestly sounds like a card that was made out of testing models rather than it made in the final production.
Those two cables were if you wanted to provide extra cooling.
Yeah, but that shouldn't even be a thing.
Even when this card was under stress, it never got above 52. And the fan.
I know somebody told you that, but your manual said otherwise. Literally, if you look at line number 2 of your manual, it says provides thermal throttling.
It should. That shouldn't. The thing is like that shouldn't even be a thing on a final production card.
This is what the manual says verbatim. Connect the system fan power cables to the 4-pin fan connectors, and the speed of the system fans would be automatically adjusted depending on the actual thermal situation, which tells me that it is thermal throttling his card, which is why I was getting 110 frames per second in Euro Trucker in the highest for settings, and he was getting 80 because the card's never going to speed up its fans to cool it down enough, so it's going to stay throttled at the 80 frames per second.
But
and it's not like I said,
it's never really overheated anyway, so it would have to automatically throttle unless you have those cables connected.
Right, which is what they do. They would just stay at the constant lower.
So even if
frame
you
rate
don't need it, it
going
throttles.
up. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's doing it automatically because it's in case so you don't get to the point where it does need it. But it also matters what manufacturer provided those because they're not made by they're not made by AMD the same way that NVIDIA is not made by NVIDIA. You gotta get like an EVGA or something else.
So Rocco, your stream looks like it's offline, or if it's just me, but just FYI.
Yeah. You're offline, Dusty.
Well, fine. You're out of line.
No, it shows live. I don't know.
Sorry, it might have been just.
No, you look fine, Rocco.
You look very lovely today.
Yeah, you're looking good, Rocco.
Thanks, appreciate that.
He is saying there's issues. And I think there's a little bit of buffering for me and stuff like that.
So I think what I learned out of the lesson with Zeb is do not buy the Sapphire Vega 64 version that requires these 2 additional connections.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious if he would be willing to exchange EVGA or something.
Yeah, you already spent the money, Zeb. Just get the EVGA version.
Honestly, what I'm curious about is I've already decided that it's not worth actually upgrading to a Vega 64. But if I did, what could I possibly
pass through? GPU pass through, maybe?
I guess. I mean, but I wouldn't really see any benefit from it, would I?
With GPU pass through, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Even if you wouldn't get a benefit, okay. One, it's not worth doing it. If you already have a decent piece of hardware, there's no reason.
No, it absolutely be
other
terrible.
than to play with stuff. And because it's chicken,
true.
There is a high possibility that you might want to play with stuff. Because there's you could do pass through, you could do the looking glass thing, you could do all kinds of stuff.
I could have it just accelerate specific elements, handle
You could get it. It uses just the animations for your DE, and that's all it does.
Here's my favorite part of this.
Bitcoin mining.
We're going to see a receipt from Chicken in Telegram by midnight of him having purchased it. Because that's just how Chicken rolls.
The Asus model.
I like how Darkwing just joined.
Well, I got the Asus model. That's the one I have, and I didn't have any of those PCIe connect or 4-pin fan connections on mine.
Yeah, it's funny. We just got a couple of Fire Pros for our CAD stations in the office, and they all have these extra cables. I mean, we planned for the one extra cable, but we needed 2 of the extra.
Oh,
power.
you're talking about the PCIe cable specifically, yeah.
The power cables.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we required 2. We required 2 of those for the Fire Pro card versus
NVIDIA with 1.
Versus, the NVIDIA had 1.
Yeah,
but
they definitely require. This is actually, and on top of having 2 PCIe connections, they're requiring 2 4-pin fan control cables to be connected up to your motherboard. So that's what's weird. Those are the ones we're talking about.
And that's the ones that it's the fan controls. So the fan.
Yes.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
You're saying directly to the motherboard, and you're not talking power supply cables, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
They're basically sensor cables for the fan, so that the motherboard can read the temperature off of the GPU to know how much it's got to speed up the fans to keep it cool.
Right. It sounds like PWM or I hate to say it, like old school technology where years ago that's how it used to be.
Right, just to set it straight, let me read to you off of the Sapphire Nitro website, yeah? The brand new Turbine X system controls up to 2 external PWM fans mounted inside the PC's chassis. A dedicated hardware controller on the card intelligently adjusts the speed of connected fans based on the reads from 5 thermal sensors included on the PCB to improve the system's overall airflow. It doesn't talk about throttling.
You know what's crazy about that is that's a terrible design. Not in terms of if that's what they're doing, having your graphics card control chassis airflow is really terrible because the chassis airflow also affects other. Wow,
why would you have your GPU power external fans for any reason? Your motherboard has all those 4-pin connectors on it made for such a situation. There'd be no purpose to doing that.
Well, PWM is that's one of the things about PWM is you have a little more control over them. Now, that being said, I don't know if you took a look at it in the BIOS at all either to see if there was any controls in there for it once it was because it was hooked up to the board. The difference with Linux and Windows, which I hate to say this, is now had that been a Windows machine, you probably would have had some sort of software to load up that you could have actually controlled it better yourself through that as well.
Yeah, but you shouldn't hate to say it. You should just have like a little asterisk that says it's because Windows is the position where it is, not because it's good.
Right. Well, if I was them, I would be sending that card back to, and that was a frustrating experience because I thought he would fall in love with it, but he's just happened to get it's a big brand. It's not like he chose a cheap brand, but it's just a weird card that XFX put out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll just put the link in chat if anybody wants to go and have a look at.
Because the Zeus card has nothing like that, or discussions about it, or anything else, and I was getting way better frames than he's talking about.
Now, Michael, I will admit, the whole beauty of it is that no matter what distro I threw at it, it just worked.
Yeah.
No proprietary drivers, you just plug it in and away it goes. It just works, and it works well for normal PC use.
Yep.
Well, and Michael, just to comment on what you just said, it's not so much that Windows is so good, it's that because Windows has the support of the hardware manufacturers. If they would come out and do the same thing to support Linux, it'd be the same thing.
Right, that's all I was saying.
Difference. It's not that Windows is so much better.
That's what I was saying. Like, you don't have to worry about, when you said I hate to say it, I was just saying, like, you don't have to worry about that because it's purely the fact that Windows just has its market share, and that's the only reason they care.
Well, and that's the one thing that makes you kind of almost at a little disadvantage or limp along a little bit sometimes with Linux because your hands are tied because you can only go so far with it, which is unfortunate. And that's why, in many ways, with these higher-end piece of hardware, you're almost better, less is more. I mean, I've got the 1050 Ti I've got in there doesn't even take power off of the PSU. It's all off the board. And so far, it's been doing okay. So,
you know what's great? The fact that, you know what it doesn't do? His NVIDIA card doesn't do that. That's what it doesn't do. So, it just works, unlike the AMD card.
Yes.
Just saying.
You violate your freedom, sir.
Stream's gone offline for me.
This buffering is killing me, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know. The stream looks good. The kilobytes on the OBS is good.
You did freeze for me a little bit there, Rocco, before.
Yeah. I was having major problems with the last stream I did on the Sapphire, and we didn't know what was causing it. I think it's YouTube that had problems because, I was 80/20 fiber line, clean and green all the way, and yet half the people in the chat said I was buffering.
Right.
Are you restreaming?
Yes.
I'm gonna check your Twitch then.
But anyway, the one thing that I was emailed about to bring up tonight was Slackware.
Yep.
And the developer.
Yep. Terrible situation. In
a terrible situation and needs help, needs funding. Although I am not one of them, there are a ton of people that still use Slackware. So if you do and you appreciate it, apparently, Michael, do you know the details? So somehow he's not getting all the money from the store that's getting donated.
Yeah, he's not. Okay.
Sounds like he needs a lawyer as well because
he does need a lawyer.
He was saying that for the last version of Slackware, he reckoned the store earned $100,000. He got given 15, and yet he's a 60-40. He's a 40% owner.
And then the company came and said they overpaid him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
so the fact that he has a 60-40 split in the first place, don't do that. If you're the founder of a project, never give control to anyone. But at this point, he's saying that he doesn't want to even use the store anymore. He wants to do like a Patreon type thing or a PayPal payments and stuff.
Yeah, he's got links up for PayPal donations now.
Yeah, he said he's interested in looking into this Patreon, but he hasn't decided which one to do yet. And I would suggest Patreon just because it's more, it's less annoying to deal with. Even though it is annoying to deal with, it's just less annoying to deal with than PayPal because PayPal is usually individual things, and you can't really rely on it as a form of payment.
So for noobs like me, I know I've heard a lot of people we've interviewed have said they started on Slackware. What is the advantage of Slackware? Explain it to everybody.
I mean, now it's less so, but because most people who started with Slackware started a very long time ago. But now Slackware is a incredibly modular distro that you can create whatever you want in a variety of ways. And that could be, a tarball based. It's a tarball based system, so it's not necessarily like its package manager is kind of like a unique package manager, and its infrastructure is unique. So
is it like a Debian base, or it's its own base?
It's its own base.
Slackware,
Okay.
Slackware.
It's source base, isn't it?
No, not. I mean, yes, kind of. It has like a 50-50 split of being source based and tarball based. So you can choose to not use any source building whatsoever and just use a tarball side, but it's kind of a mixture of both. So it allows you to save time, but also do like super specific control to your computer if you want to, but you don't have to, like Gentoo, for example.
I didn't do pure Slackware, but I did a distro called Salix that tried to make it a little bit easier to use. And once you got it up and running with all your programs, incredibly quick.
Mm-hmm.
But just for me, it was like it's a bit like Gentoo. It's a headache to keep and maintain and have it continually running. But you certainly learn a lot about the Linux ecosystem if you try and run Slackware.
So is that its kind of calling is you have to, it's not like an ISO, you go and download like, Debian or Ubuntu and install. You've got to compile the drivers and things yourself.
You can do that. You can do the nice.
No, it's
okay.
It's like
I think. Sorry, but I think Michael was talking about when you install stuff, you use the tarball. Is that what you're talking about? Within
you have a choice
Slackware.
between using tarball or using a compiling system. So like there's a thing called Slack builds, which is essentially like package builds for Arch, where you have like the AOR type stuff.
Okay.
So you can do that if you want to, but they're also is tar-based or tarball based. So it's kind of like Debs are like they take tarballs and do extra stuff on top of them, whereas Slackware is kind of like direct to the tarball stuff.
So you could just change directory to that tarball, or no, you would have probably extract it first and then just do the / and the name of the program and run it. Is that what you're saying? Is that how it works?
There's specific locations how stuff is installed. Like there is a package manager for Slackware.
Yeah, if I remember right, originally the tarball format they used did not deal with dependencies very well, if at all. I think that was managed by the managers themselves. But I think maybe they do now. I don't remember. It's not. It's not like a standard tarball, right? It's a package format in a tarball.
Right, but it's a tarball that you can use standard tarballs if you want, and there is a package manager that can support that usage.
Mm-hmm.
But it has its own custom type of approach for tarballs, but it also has like 3 different package managers that allow you to like have more control about what you want to do. They have a main package manager. I don't remember what it's called.
Slapped.
It might be just
Slapped, or you've got slap get, and then you've got that.
No, it's not that then.
The thing I liked about it is if you wanted to build something that wasn't in the repos, you went to the build manager, tried to build it, and it says, no, I haven't got this. So you then go back to the actual package, the installer side of it. Let's say, for argument, right, you needed CMake or something, or one of the other components that makes a program. And then once you'd installed that, you could go back to the package build thing and try and run it again. And then you'd find something else was missing. And eventually you'd get all the components in, and then the Slack builder would just build it off and it would work. It was great for that.
Yeah. I mean, the only issue is that you have to figure out it'll tell you what it is, but you have to go back and do it, individually. It's not like the benefits of the other types of package managers is that it will automatically like tell you this is what it is, and you'll install those first before it goes to install this. This is kind of like, this is more of a manual way to do it, but it's also a really good way to learn like what is needed and what isn't needed and stuff like that too.
It certainly taught you to, as you say, to learn, and it taught you to read error logs to find out where it was erroring, what program it was missing, and then you go back and install that program and have another go. So yeah, in that regard, I found it quite good.
Does anybody know the type of user base that Slackware has? I mean, are we living in a world now where people are not, unless you're learning, you're a developer or a learning developer, are people not shying away from those sort of distros now? Is that another thing that could be happening as well?
I mean, it is definitely a more
challenging.
Not. I mean, it's not as easy as most distros, but it's not the worst. No, like it's not like at the level of Gentoo or like Crux or anything like that, or especially not LFS or anything.
And
So
I
it's
think a lot of it is the Linux user base is spreading out a lot more. It used to be that the Linux user base was basically tech geeks who wanted to learn, so there were a lot more using Slack and Gentoo, but now there's a lot more that just want a system that they can put in and just use.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's still the oldest distribution, surviving distribution at the moment, right?
It's
It is the
first
oldest
one I
active
ever
one.
used.
Yeah.
First Linux distribution I used.
It's like
back in
93.
Yeah, 94, 95 is when I first used it.
I know when I first started getting in. Oh, sorry.
Now go on.
I know when I first started getting into it, I played around with Slackware a little bit, and Slackware seemed the people that were in Slackware seemed to be. They were the people that would tell you how you never have to reboot your computer ever again, and sometimes rebooting your computer is faster than doing all the other things that you have to do. So
yeah, you can do that with regular Linux. Just don't upgrade anything.
Yeah, well. But it was really, I mean, I really like Slackware. I tried to use it for a long time, but honestly, I think it was geared. I don't know at the time. I don't know that it was really geared towards, being a friendly desktop oriented.
I think back in the day, it was kind of. I mean, not in the sense of like in the early '90s, like really early '90s, it was the easier thing to use.
Yeah. I think KDE maybe KDE 3 was the default desktop when I tried it. I don't remember. I don't remember, but I remember he wasn't going to 4 for some reason. Off the top of my head, I don't remember why.
Yeah,
it was a long time and it's late.
Yeah, whether you've used Slackware or not, I mean, the guy's put 25 years of his life into developing this product. So if you can send him a donation, I'm sure he'd really, really appreciate it.
Yep, and there are links to his PayPal in the chat. So
thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely a great, of all the things that needs to continue, Slackware is one of them.
Here's a question. Does anybody know of any distributions that have emerged out of Slackware?
There's a ton of distros that use it as a base, but as far as like total derivatives, I don't think so, because it's a good way to create a fork system. Like Puppy uses it as a package control system, and there's Salix that uses it. But I don't think there's like a full fork distro that what Ubuntu is to Debian. I think it's just more like what Lubuntu is to Ubuntu.
Yeah. Okay.
Like slight modifications and improvements to make it easier to use, or more like Sabian is to Gen.
Is Vector Linux Slack?
I don't know.
Yes, I think that's right. Vector is one of the ones I tried back in the day.
It is. Porteous, Absolute, Ostrumi, Vector, Zenwalk, Salix, Playmo.
Zenwalk. That was the other one I was trying to remember. Great logo over at Zenwalk.
Ryan, I think there's a question for you in chat.
All right. I've got a comment to make too about Chicken. Chicken did indeed, as I said before midnight, send a receipt and telegram of his new Vega 64.
Oh my
So
gosh.
welcome to Team Red, Chicken.
Chicken, you didn't.
I did.
Oh my god.
Did. Hey, it was 180 off.
There you go. Think about the money he saved, Rocco.
Exactly.
Not the money he
And he was already on
Think
Team
about how
Red,
much
though.
more he would have saved.
The question is, did you use the affiliate link?
No, but I did use it for the previous ones,
Okay.
which was like 700 something.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So I have no idea how that works, but I hope
So-
something came of it.
You'll have to let us know when are you getting this? Like when is it?
It arrives tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, it arrives
Bought
tomorrow.
over.
Yeah.
Well, it's free overnight if it's
Yeah,
Amazon.
Prime.
Free overnight
It's Prime.
for over
Explains the
$50.
almost $600 price tag.
So to the question
180
in the chat, are you talking about EB's question, right?
Mhm.
Our favorite person, EB in the world. If Mesa drivers, I do not think would be the way to go. Although I do not have a machine of dual Intel and NVIDIA graphics. If you have NVIDIA, I think Bumblebee is the way you're supposed to go with NVIDIA to run both of those. But
Yeah,
maybe
Bumblebee
somebody
is the way to do it.
Mesa would not work well with the NVIDIA side.
He is the best transformer after all.
Yes, he is.
Right? Of course he is.
I think Mesa is a good option. It's just not for gaming. And if you want to do gaming, just disable the Intel thing and use NVIDIA.
So you're talking swapping from Intel to NVIDIA? Yeah.
If you want to
I've
utilize
used
both,
Bumblebee
you
before.
would want Bumblebee. If the best option, I think, is actually what Michael just said: is turn off the Intel and just stick with the NVIDIA. The only reason people don't do that all the time is because the Intel is going. If you're going to use it as a laptop and you want to actually have a battery more than 15 minutes, you want to run on the Intel GPU versus the NVIDIA GPU. If it's something where it's a laptop that's going to sit on your desk, then shut off the Intel and run straight NVIDIA.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's mainly like if you're going to use the laptop for gaming, why are you using a laptop for gaming? Two,
there's some good laptops for gaming.
Because you're not giving it as a present.
Actually,
right, that one. Okay, I forgot you got that as a present. That makes sense. It's kind of like the problem is that Bumblebee. It's not necessarily fault. Like support for switching back and forth is not that good. Even on Windows, it's not that good.
Bumblebee in Linux is manual, so you need to run, like, let's say you're running, I don't know what you're running. You're running some app. You say Primus run, and then the name of the app, and then it does its thing. You can even when you're doing benchmarks, if you don't use the Primus run when you run the benchmark, it won't pick up the GPU. It'll just pull up the Intel driver.
Well, I know why it would be a great idea to game on a laptop, and that's because Minecraft does very well on it.
I like where you're going there, Chicken.
That's fair.
Minecraft rules.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Sudo snap install Minecraft.
Look at Matt shaking his head.
It's the basis all of their games derived from.
Yes,
So,
exactly. Just more
Let me
polygons.
get this right. You've spent nearly $600 on a graphics card to play Minecraft.
Well, look, buddy,
an ultra setting.
buddy. Okay, look, because
You realize how sharp those pixels will be?
I was
Chicken,
gonna say,
that is going to be the clearest Minecraft ever. I mean,
I can use
500
shaders.
frames per second, the longest drawing distance. You are going to love it.
Well, actually,
That's a very violent game, you know.
Zillions of gigabytes of storage.
Will it still be blocky though?
well, it doesn't need to be.
Chicken. Are you gonna have the mods where you get like the 1024 by 1024 per block?
Actually, what's really cool is like I can use shaders because why not?
Yeah,
it'll look like real life.
He can
They're
do it.
high-res blocks.
Yeah.
It's still Minecraft.
I know.
Exactly.
That's what
I
makes
didn't think it was meant to look sharp, is it, Minecraft?
You'd be
It is
surprised.
now.
You should check out my videos. Check out my videos.
It better look sharp.
But I do want to try some other games.
$600.
It is supposed to look sharp. Those pointed edges. I mean, ugh.
Yeah.
You know, I just put two and two together. My son plays Minecraft. He's 5, Chicken. And you were the one that jumped in his server and hacked his Minecraft up. I can't believe that. I just put it together.
How else am I going to get you into the game if it's not to fight me?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, Ryan, you're gonna go look in your kid's system. You're gonna find a text file with chicken saying chicken was here.
chicken was here.
According to Terry Love in the chat, it's bragging rights to say that you play Minecraft.
That's right.
Really?
It's that good.
We're playing extreme Minecraft. You have to play Minecraft at 200 plus frames per second. That's extreme Minecrafting.
Right. It's a very violent game. I like played the demo for like a minute. That's all I could take of it.
Rocco's like,
But
where do you perch up and snipe people?
I ended up having to kill a cow. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's a very violent game.
You got to take matters into your own hands.
So, just a slight side note, Rocco. Have you heard the news about the possible ripping of threads from?
Oh no, Michael's gonna get banned.
From the 9th generation of i7.
I'm sorry, I got told at the beginning I had to ban anybody who said Threadripper.
Oh my god!
No. You didn't let me finish.
What?
Have you heard about the ripping of threads from the 9th generation?
Oh my god!
The ninth generation of the Intel i7 potentially removing hyperthreading.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
What?
Well, the next generation is possible that the Intel i7 will remove the ability to do hyperthreading.
The interesting thing about hyperthreading
There's a rumor
is that
going right now because there's been a potential leak found.
Because they want you to buy the i9.
Not necessarily.
It's an issue of mitigation with Spectre.
There are also some other potential reasons that hyperthreading could be dropped without any issue, and it's that since cores are so good nowadays anyway, like hyperthreading can potentially harm performance in some types of workloads, and with eight cores, it's not as much of an issue as it would be back when you only had 2 cores. It's a lot easier to get away with now, only having cores and not additional threads. Like,
yeah, if you had a ton of cores, but they only, the i7, I think the max of an i7 is 8 cores.
8 should be the default in the coming up ones.
No. They have a 28 one, right?
No, the 28 one's
oh no, they have a 28 one.
The 28 one's it's a Phantom.
They run 62 threads.
Right, exactly. It runs 140.
That's with the hyperthreading, but they're removing that.
I thought they were also working
I saw Michael
isolating the threads to the process.
Get you to buy the i9.
Hold on, what'd you say, Dave?
I thought they were also working on the possibility of not removing the hyperthreading, but isolating the threading to specific processes.
There are some cases where they're talking about that too.
That's a possibility, yeah.
This is more of a rumor that I think is interesting that also allowed me to make the joke without ever saying it.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's going to bring some challenges up ahead to a lot of different workloads, especially more intensive workloads, because hyperthreading is taken advantage of quite a bit if they do remove it.
They got to do something about Spectre and Meltdown.
Yeah, they got to rebuild the entire architecture of the chips.
Honestly, I would rather
one of the ways to mitigate a lot of the Spectre problems is to remove the ability to use hyperthreading, which is also like, why would I want to use Intel?
Yeah, I would rather keep the performance and not even care. So,
well, I definitely care, but I think the AMD solution is to have more cores that work properly.
Yeah, I think this solution is very lazy.
So there's all this mitigation going around about Spectre and all the other bits and pieces. So in all of the years that you've been using Linux, how many seriously bad hacks have we heard about? Where people have been damaged or money has been lost and companies have been ruined?
Does a fire in the server room count?
Did a hack cause the fire?
That might be possible. Like, there's.
If you can hack
they're
someone,
ruining all of our processes, but for what? Who's been hurt with it so far? It's just theory.
It's not theory. It's absolutely not theory. It's been
feelings.
Proven.
No, they're real. The nice thing is that a lot of them require actual physical access to your computer before they can make use of the shortcomings in the architecture of the chip.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. A lot of the vulnerabilities have that problem, but there are also a few that don't. That just running JavaScript.
Yeah, this is why the browsers, the primary protection method for most users is keeping your browser up to date.
Yes.
Because a lot of these Spectre mitigations are actually in the browser. It doesn't mean other things on the system aren't patched, but you're patching the entrance vector.
Yeah, exactly. And it's definitely like it's not a long time thing because we didn't really there was no evidence that this has ever been utilized in a malicious way prior to the announcement that this is a flaw. But the flaw is so massive that it affects every operating system, every hardware. It doesn't matter. Like the only thing that does, there's only a few things that are not affected. Like some ARM chips are not affected, but also other ARM chips are. So it depends on which one you have. The only thing that we know for a fact is not affected, like at all, is the Raspberry Pis, because they use particular chips that don't have that problem. They also aren't super powerful in the first place. So
no speculative execution on those.
Yeah, they can't do that. Yeah. But it is definitely an issue, and it doesn't matter how long we've been using computers or whatever. It's definitely a problem that has to be addressed, regardless of the OS and regardless of the hardware itself. It's just, I think AMD's approach to doing it is a better way than Intel's way.
How do they approach it, Michael? How is it approached?
Oh, with more cores and not depending on the hyperthreading.
Kind of like OpenBSD, they just turned off hyperthreading.
Well, I mean, they still have the ability to do hyperthreading, but there's some rumors that are saying that AMD is going to offer the ability to just disable it as a part of the hardware spec. But also this is a rumor about that. It's also a rumor about the Intel thing, about them getting rid of it. They just have there's leaked documents that show that there's a potential that they will remove it, which I think is really interesting because it just shows Intel's kind of giving into their state of becoming irrelevant. It's like they already have a massive market share, of course, but they're not only are they not making any new grounds, they're stepping back.
Well, this stuff also affected their data center processors and architecture. I mean, this stuff's been a big deal. Maybe less on some of the exploits, less so for the desktop user than it would be for the data center client.
Intel has manufacturing and big offices over here in Beaverton, Oregon, about 24 miles away from me. They don't even want to talk about this issue. I was at a bar last night with a bunch of them, and they don't want to even talk about it. We can't talk about that because we're going to get in trouble. So
it's probably a 50-50 of we don't want to talk about it because we don't want to get in trouble, and also because our responses are going to be terrible. We don't want to say it.
Well, how many years long is the pipeline for Intel chip manufacturer from design to actual production?
4 or 5.
Exactly. So they're looking at 4 or 5 years before they could possibly get an actual fixed chip out to the public.
Yep.
I mean, and that's the kind of hard thing about that is that these are just things that have become such fundamental parts of how we process things. It's incredibly difficult. I mean, you got to just take a new angle at it.
And what hurts is I'm planning on building a home-based system based on an old Xeon chip that somebody had given me. But now I got to think 5 years down the road, if they ever come out with a chip that fits it and I want to use an Intel chip, I got to wait till the new chip comes out.
Yeah. It hits some systems a lot harder than others.
Well, it's frustrating when you really think about this in the grand scheme of things. It didn't really become an issue until like you said, the announcements were made that there was an issue. And it's if that's the case, why not just fix it silently? Send down patches, whatever you have to do. And in the next 5 years, no harm, no foul. Nobody would probably even notice the difference. And then the new chips come out. You know what I mean?
That's often what happens in these kinds of bug fixes. But in this case, some of the fixes cannot be done on the hardware. You can't do it with a firmware update. That's why the Linux kernel has been updated with the performance hit. Isn't it because they turned something off on the processor? It's because the kernels quit utilizing what's on the processor.
Right, but I guess the point is though is why draw attention to it?
Because the embargo expired. The people that turned in the code gave an embargo period, and they could not fix the problem inside the embargo period because they couldn't fix the problem. And they couldn't fix the problem in this case. The problem still exists. Okay, it just because you're running a patched Linux kernel or a patched Windows kernel doesn't mean the problem's not there. The hardware is flawed.
Yeah.
And they cannot fix it with microcode updates. Not all of it. They can mitigate it, but they can't get rid of it.
Part of it is
So
too,
you
they
literally, the only
know-
way to fix it is to take the chip out and put in a different one.
And part of the problem is, too, they've known that it was going to be an issue for 10 years or more. It was actually recognized that this could be a problem. It's just only recently that they actually figured out a way to use the problem that they knew was there and write code that could leak information.
Yeah,
so they
to
knew the
prove a
vulnerability
concept.
was there. It's just nobody had come up with a working exploit until last year.
I tell you what, it might be the chicken in me, but I liked it all a lot better when we didn't know about it.
But they still learned the hard lesson with the old Pentium processors when they knew there was a problem with it, and it, went through the court case, and they finally admitted, yeah, we knew about it, and they don't want that problem now, so they can't keep quiet about this once it got leaked out. So,
I mean, they couldn't. The embargo was more like, don't tell. Everybody has to have the mitigations ready before we say when the stuff's going to be out, or when we announce that this is a problem. So, like, they did an embargo because they have to, and also because it gave people times to deal with it.
And that was incredibly hard for the BSD folks. If I recall, they didn't get the proper information they needed for quite some time after others already had it.
No, that's not true. OpenBSD actually was one of the problems with releasing the information too quickly.
It might have been FreeBSD then. I know one of the BSDs wasn't informed of this.
Well,
they were informed of it immediately when they found it. Like when they announced, there was certain tiers where they were like, here, we'll give you this information now, and then like 3 months later, here, we'll give you the information now because now you deserve to know.
I would just like to mention that MX Linux was never informed of these problems.
Well, you get the benefit of having the kernel not having to write that.
Yet.
The OpenBSD was I'm pretty sure it was that particular version of BSD where they released a patch in the ports that people found that this thing had happened. That's why it was supposed to be announced in January 9th, but instead was kind of announced on the 3rd or 4th because people had already found OpenBSD making a patch for it.
That's nice.
Yeah. And everybody else still waited to the 9th because they had to. And it actually kind of messed up some other stuff too. Like Ubuntu's servers, like Launchpad had to go down for like a week or two in order to compensate for people knowing about the vulnerability being available and not having a patch on the Launchpad servers yet. Because they were designed to have the patch out on the 9th, and that way the Launchpad servers never would have gone down because people didn't know it was there. They're like, well, now you know, and we got to tell you. It's like, uh-oh.
Who originally discovered this?
A big group of people. There was about 5 companies that worked together, and one of them was Google.
It's called Project Zero, isn't it? It's like some weird testing.
Project Zero is like the main people from Google that were a part of finding it. Like there's also other people who were involved in just like figuring it out, but Project Zero is like the people who found and created the proof of concept thing.
Their name was the coolest, so that's when everybody.
Right.
Yeah, which is really ridiculous and shocking because Google are the people who named it, and their company is named Google and Alphabet.
That's pretty bad.
Didn't they know about this when they originally designed the Intel chip? They just didn't think it would ever get quick enough to be able to use it.
Yes.
Pretty much, yes.
There was a paper at least 10 years ago that pointed out that this will be a problem at some point. But everybody was so concerned about ramping up the speeds and using the predictive branching to get the speeds faster on the chips because that's what everybody wanted, that they thought that, you're not going to be able to exploit it.
It was about 2005 that the original problem was found.
Yeah.
2005.
They knew about the problem in existence.
From a design flaw, not from usability. It was a design flaw that they found. It had something to do with one of the photo layers on the chip. They went back through and they looked at all the photo lith. They dug down on the chip one layer at a time, and they found it.
It wasn't a flaw; it was a feature.
Right?
A feature, yes.
This isn't GNOME.
Chicken's going on a road trip. He's got his map out.
He's tracing where his card is.
Is it that complicated to cross the road? Is it
absolutely ridiculous? I mean, they gave me. I tell you what, I got a new sound card because my current motherboard doesn't have something to handle like the 7.1 surround sound because I need like multiple plugs. So I got a sound card. Look what they gave me a CD for something.
That's to test the sound.
Yeah, it's got one MP3 on it.
And your Windows drivers.
Of course, so, like the funny thing about that speculation problem was that the people who designed the infrastructure of that concept knew that it would be a problem in the future, but they designed it at a time where they had no expectation that computers would ever get to the point where they could even use it, because they did it in like 1968 or something.
Yep.
You gotta wonder, like, how does it never occur to people that things get better? Like,
they knew it was gonna. They knew it was a possibility, and they knew it was gonna happen. But they made this for mainframes, and PCs didn't even exist.
We'll be dead by the time it happens. It's fine.
They kind of thought that. They didn't think that Murphy's Law was gonna be as accurate as it was that quickly.
Yes, that's funny.
Is it Murphy's Law or Moore's Law?
Well, they tried,
or they thought chip architecture.
Moore's is the one where it points out that it can't get better past a certain point, isn't it? And then Murphy's is where it.
Murphy's is doubling every 2 years.
Well, you have electrical physical limits. Like, have you ever wondered why they can't seem to get CPUs to run much faster than 4 gigahertz?
I'm sorry. Have you seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, buddy?
That's not real physics.
That's the movie, dude.
Come on, Barb.
Physics and chemistry, guys. There comes a point where you're not going to make them any faster. You're not going to make them any smaller, because even if you go,
it's so true.
At some point, we just need to do it differently.
So far as chip design is concerned, there are fundamentals in the masking. And when they build the chip, there's masking layers, and there's fundamentals within the way that those processes are done that were created 40 years ago, 35, 40 years ago, and they haven't changed. And there's a good likelihood, as Barb was saying, because of physics. It doesn't have anything to do with limitations from a hardware perspective, but because of physics.
When you're already
not going to be able to.
There are limitations on silicon, though.
But the thing is, the circuitry is metal. The circuitry is usually like gold or platinum, and they're now running a lot of those on one atomic layer, one molecular layer.
Yes.
How are you going to make it any thinner than that? You
Split the atoms.
then you're
make
not
the atoms share.
Step away from metal.
Huh?
Step away from metal.
What are you going to use to conduct?
Yeah, metal has the best conductivity.
That's the thing, though. Like, we don't necessarily
or
need to
light.
use electricity. Yeah, light is another option.
Because then you can use crystal lattice.
They do have light processors. Like, these people are working on them.
That's what they're looking at for quantum computers.
They even have
extremely.
And those processors right now are taking up rooms and rooms and rooms.
Yeah.
Like the stuff we have in our
we
labs.
do have working.
We used to have
concepts.
vacuum tubes, didn't we? That took up rooms and rooms and rooms. And now we have computers in our pockets.
We have working concepts of Wi-Fi powered by visible, or not visible light spectrum, but like actual like direct light, which is incredible.
Right, and once they become economically viable, you'll see more of them.
Well, the other thing is that if you're having, let's say, Wi-Fi by light, it's still electromagnetic energy. So instead of it being
there's still a limit.
Yeah, there is a limit. There is,
Yes.
you're not going to want to have it being gamma rays.
I think one of the cool
No.
things about it, though, is that similar into the way that we've done batteries, where we've gone from like what was a nickel cadmium to lithium ion, is that we don't necessarily need to run up to the limit and then be limited by it. We can just do it differently. And
once we learn the better ways and
But
different techniques.
when you look at batteries, you're still dealing with electrochemical reactions.
Yeah, it's just done in a different way, which
You're
happens.
using different elements. That's all.
Yeah.
I think once we get to the Stargate, we're going to be good.
Right?
Open a wormhole. We're done.
I love it.
We'll be good.
Pan-dimensional circuitry.
You know, it's interesting. I just read a book called The Three Body Problem, where these aliens, right? They create quantum computing by figuring out how to take an atom and change its dimensionality so it's as big as like all outside, and then they etch the circuits on with spaceships, and then they fold it all back up and send it to Earth and stop all physics development on Earth so that they stay more advanced than Earth. It's a great book. It's Chinese. It was tough, but luckily there were a lot of footnotes.
So are you saying they're the ones that developed Linux to start out with?
I don't know.
Well, there's a nice comment in chat where someone says we don't need faster CPUs, we just need faster pencils.
Or better ink.
There's, you know, the whole size problem going down. This one reason they all started going to multiple cores, right? I mean, just if you can't go smaller, go bigger. You know, just give me a chip this big, man. Just slap a big ass cooler.
Yeah, there's like the whole like we got to 10 nanometers, and they're like, we got to get lower. Like, why?
Yeah, the cool thing is it's not necessary. It could be more efficient, but it's not necessarily necessary.
I mean, I think it'd be more efficient to just stick to the 10 nanometers and like make that better, rather than trying to get to like 8 and 7.
Honestly, even
Like,
28 nanometer had hope, but it was run to the ground.
Sure.
We could get 10 nanometers and then side by side. And
No, but it's not divisible by 6. We have to go with something else.
we can use base 10. Base 10 always.
That's doable. Yeah. I want at least a dozen.
Was not divisible by 6.
Base 10's even.
That's true.
Number, so I like that.
Base 10 works
Basically-
really well.
Basically, everything else in your computers and machines are like 20 to 60 something nanometers, and then your CPU is like 14 or 10. It's quite interesting, like the contrast in that.
Yeah, I guess it depends on like the priorities that we have over types of computation.
And it also has to do with cost too. You got to
Yeah.
realize that cost. You're not going to. I mean, maybe you, Alan, would go and spend $30 gazillion on
Got him.
the super but the rest of us don't have that option.
You got paid.
She knows you, chicken.
So,
Smells like burnt chicken to me.
Roasted.
That may be extra crispy.
I think you gotta pull your flying feathers.
I don't have my wings.
Well, does anybody have any suggestions for next week's challenge?
Slackware.
Heads up,
Yes,
Rocco.
that would be a good one. Slack.
Oh my gosh, don't say that.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Already downloaded the ISO and the binary for it.
Yeah.
Can we use the derivative like Zenwa? Or does it have to be pure Slack?
who's got the keyboard from hell?
That's chicken.
Sorry, I'm not.
He gets
I
excited.
appreciate the sound.
He gets all excited.
I didn't care.
What's involved in Slackware? This could be a nightmare week.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah. Do I have to take some days off work?
Let me have a look at it first.
Nightmare scenario.
I'm going to refrain from accepting this challenge
Come
whatsoever.
on, wait, Matt. There are only so many weeks that you can refrain from taking the challenge.
No, there isn't.
Well, you know what's really nice?
In the 90s, I'm done. I'm not going to use it.
I actually have plans over this week to test a few things, and it does include audio. So as everybody knows, audio on BSD doesn't exist. If you use BSD, you are deaf. That's how it works. So I want to actually test if using a dedicated sound card helps, but I actually wanted to test the differences in things like rendering between Linux and BSD. Probably use FreeBSD, and those are my plans for the weekend. So Slackware might just have to wait for me.
Chicken, what about using like TrueOS or something?
I mean, it makes it a lot easier, I will say.
Chicken, you can't use BSD because you're not old, senile, and deaf.
I see what you did there, Zeb.
Rocco, I think I was doing something similar to chicken, actually. I think I had something planned a little bit like chicken, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. Like, I plan on not taking this challenge.
Yeah, okay, so we need a better challenge.
Yeah.
Tim, save us here. What should we try?
For a challenge?
If
For
we're
a
going
distro
to go
challenge
somewhere
this
that
week.
route, we should do like Sabion or something. It's Gentoo based, but still.
Oh, hold on, Zeb's here. You can't say that word.
But how about
Gentoo?
something like OpenSUSE or like something like that based system?
That could be interesting.
Yeah.
Tim, what do you
There's
think?
Gecko Linux, and then there is the tumbleweed spin and everything.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Well, I've followed a couple of the challenges here as of late. You guys tried to trip through Deepin.
We did.
Deepin was awesome on Antacross.
We tried
Gecko
Intergos.
How about Gecko? It's based on OpenSUSE.
Yeah, that's
And then
nobody.
you can have a
But the
choice
problem
of
is nobody will have it installed by next Saturday.
What? Gecko? No, Gecko.
Gentoo.
Oh, yeah.
It's Gentoo.
Calculate.
No, that's why I said if you do Gentoo, do something like Sabion.
I've said it before
Sabion's
elsewhere.
wonderful.
Any of those distros, I would rather go and get a frying pan in this.
Can we do a split
every-
challenge? Is anyone willing to do Slackware anyway? I mean,
I'll go for it.
I think we all have stuff to do this week, Colin.
Yeah.
So there's no distro challenge this week?
You will have Salix up and running in an hour.
Salix
is good.
Salix.
What?
Well, I went to the Slackware web page, and it's just a whole heap of text to start with. So,
welcome to BBS type website.
Better or worse than Debian's website?
Slightly better.
Slightly better.
Only slightly.
Lazy slackers. Ooh.
I mean, I could probably. I'm probably willing to sort of give it a go, but I mean, even if I don't get it up and running, at least I tried. Both.
Yeah.
Derek says you can get Slackware running with KDE or XFCE in 15 minutes.
That's not
Really?
too bad.
Who said that?
I'm going to take up that challenge.
Derek, aka DistroTube.
And why isn't Derek in here?
Yeah.
Yeah, where are you today, Derek?
Cat and he ran off.
Pick on someone your own size, buddy.
He probably had an extreme distro hop that went up in flames.
Fully to Slackware.
Pulse audio, he couldn't get working.
Slackware. He said it earlier. He was installing it as we were talking about it.
He's installing it. Yeah, he's saying he's installing it. I'll give it a go. Why not? But
Yeah,
we can.
he'll have a how to do it by tomorrow.
Oh, he says he's installing Slackware.
We can all pile on his YouTube channel in the coming days, and we'll have the easy install.
It looks interesting. Though. Is it because it's XFCE that you like it, Zeb?
What's that?
Solix?
Salix?
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. SOLYDX?
Oh, Solid X.
No, that's
Yeah,
Solid
Solid
X.
No, that's Debian based thing.
Yeah, that's Debian. Yeah, it is.
Oh, sweet. Let's do that one.
What about Magia?
Actually, I like the idea of Gecko.
Gecko's pretty good.
Gecko is is nice, and they've got like a half dozen different desktop environments you can choose, and you can either choose like Tumbleweed, which is the rolling release, which is pretty stable, is what I found, versus or you could get their stable release, which is usually like a little bit older kernel.
What desktop environment?
Oh, choose.
I won't be going near Gecko.
You get to choose what desktop you want.
Mm-hmm. You
So,
download the one that you want.
I mean, if we do the challenge for Gecko, you can choose whatever flavor you want.
I'll choose the blank flavor.
They do have, yes, they have the bare bones gecko. It's a skeleton.
Last time I touched Gecko, it ate 6 of my hard disks, so I'm going nowhere near
Wow.
that.
That's like me with Angelgos.
Does anyone else have this image of this lizard coming up and just chomping Zeb's machine? It's like a Godzilla movie.
It sounds like a distro from a
for you to get your little toy
But it
figures
doesn't
out.
take too long to install. It takes about 10, 15 minutes. That's it, max.
Okay, my question is, what is the challenge? I'm getting confused.
We're deciding it now,
We're
Frank.
deciding.
We're deciding whether it should be Gecko, Slackware, or Sailor.
We're all confused. That's the secret.
We'll have a split challenge, yeah? Between Slackware and Gecko.
No.
No?
No,
Can't do that? All right, okay.
That wouldn't be cool.
How
Mine
about
might be.
virtualizing another and another on the another one?
You're not alone, bud.
Well, I don't think I've ever tried Gecko Linux anyway, so I
Oh, yeah, I
definitely
think
haven't
you
tried
like
that.
it. The only
Here's
thing
a
that-
challenge. Install it on ZFS.
It takes a little bit to get used to to Yast. Once you get it, it's really not that bad. It's actually pretty cool.
I have tried another software tool.
Yeah.
And yet it's the best.
Yeah.
Gecko.
Is Yast what
Tumbleweed
Sousa uses?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, Gecko is just a customized SUSE.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Big difference is you're able to run a live environment with Gecko, right? SUSE, you can't.
Right.
Oh, you can't run live with SUSE?
No, it's
No?
a surprise distro.
Yeah.
It's a surprise.
Have you ever, Tim? Have you ever used Gecko?
I ran OpenSUSE for, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 months, something like that, a couple of years ago. And Yast is pretty robust. From a user perspective, if I wouldn't have been able to get used to it or trip through it in the first, say, 10 to 15 minutes, I would have just gotten frustrated as all get out and trashed it and put something else on.
Sounds like the perfect challenge.
Yast is the one thing. If you can spend a few minutes in Yast and you can really get used to it, it's not very intuitive. At least from my perspective, it wasn't the most intuitive feel.
I don't think it still is. That was what I found. It wasn't.
It hasn't changed.
No.
Once you trip through, once you get yourself into it and you understand this, I don't know, the kind of the reversed logic of it in some cases, it works good. I think to add to the challenge, I think not only installing Gecko would be good, but having a printer hooked up to your distro working would up the challenge even further.
They've really done well. I was using it till maybe March, something like that, and I use it as my non-Ubuntu distro, just to have something different. And the printer worked fine with it. I didn't have a problem. I had an HP printer, and the only thing that if you want to get the scanner to work, if you have like a multifunction HP printer, you have to install the HP lib.
Yep.
And once you install that, you don't even have to. You just have to install it, and you've got to install the GUI also, the HP Live GUI. And once you've got that, you don't even have to load it or run it or try and set it up. It then installs what you need for the scanner to work.
This week I'm probably I don't know if I'll do the I doubt if I'll do this challenge. I have a challenge enough. I just bought a Chromebook Pixel and I've got
Oh, sweet.
I've actually got GIMP and a few other things running on it already.
That's great.
Yep.
Good job.
Nice.
I'll give Gecko a try, and I'll try to get the printer to work with it. I mean, I got the printer to work with Arco and my Steam working on it. I like the challenge, so I'll try that.
It's stable. I didn't have problems with the tumbleweed.
Are we agreed it'll be Gecko?
I believe so.
Yep, Gecko. Gecko it is.
If somebody has like really old SUSE installation, that would be really fun to have some like really old. Try that.
I'll dig through my basement.
I know. I kept my CDs from years ago. Go ahead, Frank.
I had a 7-disc install set from OpenSUSE from back in the 90s.
I had a big black binder full of CDs. I know I got them around here somewhere.
Yeah, that would be quite funny.
Nice trophy case.
I have tried OpenSUSE in the past a couple of times, but never really ran it. Just looked at it, so probably got some discs there still anyway. But
I actually did run it for a couple months.
Did you?
Wait,
nice.
Back when it was, I think it was KD 3.5, something like that. It was right after coming over from Windows. I went from, forget what distro I was on, but I was running KDE 3.5, and then I ended up trying OpenSUSE, and it was like the best implementation of KDE ever.
Right. Okay.
But I didn't stay with it very long.
Rocco, I'm going to have to, rather than ducking out of another one this week, because I've got an excuse, a good excuse. There's a really good excuse.
There's no excuse, Joe.
Well, kind of there is, because I got family flying in. My son's getting married next week. So
That's a good well, congratulations.
That being said,
No mercy.
I will still, in the next few days, try to get it on my test laptop, and I'll give you a message through Telegram or whatever on what I feel for it, and then you can report it for me, because I won't be here next Saturday unless I go live from the wedding.
So, Joe, you have to report from the rehearsal dinner.
That's like a
We want to meet the family.
Joe, you know Zoom has a an app on a mobile app. So
that's right. Yeah,
you really have no excuse.
Derek says he has enough hard drives to do both.
Yeah. That's all I can do is bring the laptop with me. So,
there you go.
Mr. Slackware halfway in the house.
Did Derek? Did he ever say why he's not in here?
He's in here. Slackware. He just can't get his camera to work.
Installing Slackware.
How many people will the Zoom chat hold?
It'll hold hundreds.
As many as your dreams can.
There's no
contain.
limit.
No, seriously, it will hold hundreds, because
Okay,
it's made for like big companies to do meetings. So
right, nice.
And we're clearly professionals here. So.
I mean, I don't know how much bigger we could get and still get a word in, but hey, I'm not stopping anybody from coming. But go ahead.
I'm looking at the Gecko website, and they've got DE wise, they've got Cinnamon, XFCE, GNOME, Plasma, Mate, LXQT, and then Bare Bones. But Budgie, they say, is unavailable.
Oh, another Sparky.
It's because Budgie's dead.
But is this so you actually download the actual ISO according to what desktop you want, or
yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Oh, that's all right. That's
hey
okay.
guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Hear you, just can't
We
see.
can't see you, but we can hear you.
Good to hear you.
So my installation is kind of working.
Kind of working.
Okay. That's all that matters.
It's typical.
You know what? I'll take audio
with nothing in it and a voice.
What are you installing?
That was Slackware, sir.
Oh, I'm
Of
sorry.
all the things that would be working right now, surprisingly, it's audio.
Yes, I agree. Actually, that's the one thing that usually gives me a problem. So,
have you tried turning it on and off again?
the audio?
Wouldn't that be the other way around? Off and on?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I can kill Pulse Audio real quick and see if that helps.
No,
It's really good at the moment, audio. I mean,
I actually had problems installing Linux Mint during the week because I had the ISO sitting there for a few weeks. I downloaded it a few weeks ago, and apparently it was pulling in. Walt on Telegram mentioned it to me that it pulls in a bad grub, so I had to download a new ISO, which is version 2. I don't know if anyone else knew about that, but I definitely didn't.
I just don't understand how that particularly happens, considering that part of the system should
I
be.
know.
Like,
I did 5 installs thinking I was doing the wrong thing with my boot partition. I thought, maybe I did it wrong. Maybe I did it wrong. I was in absolute denial by the fifth one.
I mean, they should be pulling that in from Ubuntu anyway. Like they typically don't tinker with any of that kind of stuff.
I don't understand because I literally downloaded that version of Mint when you guys announced it that it was on the servers, and I never had a problem when I installed it.
It definitely hasn't been a problem for a lot of people, but it's been a problem for enough people for them to have to re-release an ISO.
Right. So I must have been the time that you downloaded it or something, or I don't know.
Depends on how new it is.
Right, okay.
If it just affects you in general, it can be dependent on other factors within your system, such as other distros.
And what was it doing exactly?
It came up with an error. It pulls in a bad grub. It pulls in a corrupted grub. So when it gets to the grub install, it just come up with an error, and that was it. Install done. You didn't even get to install it and finish it. So yeah, that's what it was doing.
So after it's destroyed everything on your drive, it cannot complete.
Yeah, pretty much. That's correct. And so I just kept doing more installs. And after the fifth one, I thought, I don't know what's going on. I just put it up on Telegram. Wow, Linux Mint doesn't install. I'm running it now, so it's working fine. But that's the beauty of having a data drive. It doesn't matter how many installs you do. It's just, you're only ruining the one drive anyway.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Lost too many data files. Back to Windows.
I think I'm actually gonna try the plasma version.
I was looking at
Gecko.
Brave soul.
That's what I pulled down.
I haven't looked at that yet. Gecko, let me check it out.
I thought Gecko had a deepen variant as well at one point.
Well, if you get the core, you can probably put deepen on it.
I don't know if OpenSUSE has any deepen stuff in their repos.
Lizards.
I know Ubuntu finally does. I think they actually did it downstream with Debian, actually. But I know some of the deepen stuff is in Ubuntu repos now. Which is
are we downloading the static edition or the rolling?
Probably
I downloaded the rolling.
Yeah, because
the thing about OpenSUSE in general is that it's rolling is not entirely rolling. Like, it's very well tested because they have an entire system around automating the entire thing on large scale. So it's typically.
So they have the plasma rolling, but they also have the plasma next.
I think the next comes with additional stuff inside of it.
Well, it comes with OBS repositories,
which is not open broadcaster software as it should be, because that's the best. It's the open build system.
Oh.
Yeah, so those are like the things for kind of like user repositories in a way.
Open build system is also awesome.
It really is.
What is that about?
Open build system is a way for a lot of different distros to be able to compile packages on SUSE's systems. And then you can actually host repos. We have one of our packagers, our main packager actually, he has a couple of side OBS repositories for apps that aren't in Debian stable. And it's really kind of cool. Like, we got a Mate in there and a couple other things, but it's separate from our project. But he can throw them up on the server. It compiles them. It sets up the repo. We've got all the download links and all the torrents and everything. Well, wait, I'm getting two things confused. But anyway, it's really neat, and it's like think PPA, but it's a repository.
Nice. Well, then I'm just going to do the plasma rolling, I guess, because I don't really need that to test.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is, even if you don't go with the ones that have it out of the box, it's very easy to add them in. There's
right.
Yeah,
so they're just source definitions to go in your.
Yeah, and
I have to say, it's a very nice website. Anyway.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often with Linux, but here we are.
Are we all doing the rolling?
I'm doing rolling LXQt. I called it.
Nice.
What are you doing, Rocco? Rocco's doing plasma.
I'm going to do plasma, yeah.
I'll do GNOME then.
Actually, I'm just downloading the LXQt here, but whatever.
Alex. Yeah, that's fine.
More than one can do it. I mean, there's only 8 stops.
Yeah.
If you guys are going to do it that way, I'll
do Mate.
All right, I'll try cinnamon then.
Same here.
They do at least have some of
back
the
up,
deepen tools
and then back up again.
They have deepen UI in the repositories for OpenSUSE. So
sweet.
Yeah, they might. You might be able to pull it up individually, but they don't have a set ISO for it yet.
I3 is in the repos for Ryan if he wants to go that route.
Did we go from Gen 2 to SUSE?
Yes, we did.
So here's the thing. We're
I'll
gonna
do the cinnamon as well.
I don't know if Gecko Linux does this stuff by default, but if you install OpenSUSE, you're gonna have problems with things like codecs, like H.264 and whatnot. I believe Gecko does have some of the stuff built in, so you don't have to worry about it. So, like, if you want to use OBS to record your stuff, you can't do that in OpenSUSE unless you like build it yourself with X264. So,
Yeah.
Hopefully,
where's Barb? Barb would know because she runs Gecko, doesn't she, Barb? I'm pretty sure Barb does. Yeah.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
I don't know if she uses OBS though on OpenSUSE on Gecko. I know she mentioned using it on Ubuntu Mate once to do some
I think
DVD.
the point of Gecko is it takes out all that pain of doing it on OpenSUSE. It was like, what was that other distro that went west just recently that took Fedora and made it? Was it Corora?
Oh, Corora, yeah.
It's the equivalent of that, but on OpenSUSE.
Hopefully,
so
much less bloated.
that should take out all the pain of the OpenSUSE for you.
Yep.
And I'll be sitting here smiling next week on my MX because I'm going nowhere near Gecko.
Oh yeah, just butter them up. Just butter them up.
I was going to say, I think he's sucking up to the developer.
That's okay. That's okay.
Anyone doing the XFCE one? No one's doing XFCE.
That's funny. That's funny, Colin.
Well, if no one wants XFCE, I can do it since Humor wants to do LXQ. I don't mind XFCE.
Yeah, I haven't been doing LXQ there a long time, so
yeah, I'll check out XFCE then.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet, no worries. Sounds good.
And
I
y'all
expect
can have fun with that.
4K videos from all of you at the end of the week.
Well, right now I don't have
Yeah, right.
Software is fine. I don't have a 4K camera.
Yeah, I don't have a 4K camera, so I'm safe.
I don't have any 4K screens or even cameras. So
I don't think I could even stream in 144p right now.
I don't have 4K money.
You're lucky you have audio.
It sounds
like
it's
to have audio.
You're the only person I've ever met who touts 4K every night I ever hear you talk.
Well, the interesting thing is I'm actually not using a 4K display, but
1440p.
I've considered upscaling to 4K. Like, I wouldn't see the benefit, but it would look better on the end of the scale.
Derek, it sounds like you're kind of slacking.
It's okay because I went the route that you and Michael suggested. I got an IC dock. I've got 5 drives now.
Nice. You know what? The one problem I have with my IC dock, the one drive, and I don't know, it must be specific to that drive. Maybe the plate is off or something, but it's an SSD, and no matter which bay I put it in, it gets stuck. It will not pop out with the button. I have to actually take the whole IC dock out of the tower and play with it for a couple minutes to get it.
That's
to come
interesting.
out.
You mentioned that because I noticed one of my 6 bays, it does not sit quite correctly. I mean, it's a little out of place compared to the other 5.
I have one bay that doesn't like to release. It's
yes, but here's my problem with it. I spent 15 minutes taking it out of the thing and trying to wiggle it out, and I got it out, and I figured, okay. So I put it in. So I put it all back in, and then I slid it into the other bay across from it, and it did the same exact thing, even though I had just released another drive from that same bay with no problem.
So it's a problem with the carrier, the drive.
With the tray.
Yeah, the tray. Yeah.
So
Well, that's really strange because I don't have that problem in my IC dock.
It's weird. I don't know. How strange. How strange.
I bought the wrong IC dock.
Rocco, is that 9mm SSD or a 7mm SSD?
Yeah.
Good
I have
question.
no idea.
Yeah,
I was like, don't ask me those questions.
I don't. It's too late to ask those questions.
Is that Icy Dock sitting in the same drawer as your NVIDIA? Is it, Zeb?
Yes, absolutely. No, the NVIDIA is back in the
has the
thing.
IC Dock Paperweight Edition.
I can't wait to have the problems with my IC dock when I build my system. I just can't wait.
Yeah, Rocco, check the millimeter because that could very well. It should be noticeable to see if it's a thicker drive.
Yeah.
If I can't get it out, how am I checking it?
You can always take like get like a little buzz saw and just kind of shave off the
I could
the end of it.
Sawzall, right?
I really like the IC dock though, because when things go bad, like they're apparently going bad for me right now, I do have Manjaro on the main drive of my machine. I can just boot back into it. So.
Right.
And you didn't because?
That's a good question.
He likes
Joe.
pain, Joe. He
Because
likes pain.
because he's got sound, and that's the number one thing he's never got. So
You know what? Linux should hurt a little.
roll with it.
That's right.
Linux should hurt a little bit.
You've got the most battle scars of all of us, don't you?
You know, I expect a T-shirt that says that, and I will buy that.
Linux should hurt somehow. That's pretty good.
Okay.
I never box the Linux Band-Aids.
Now, that's not a bad idea. If I could do my own brand of Band-Aid.
Yep. Bring on the pain. Linux
Talking
should hurt a
about-
little bit.
Ubuntu logo on the Band-Aid.
If we're talking about merchandise,
Working on my Arco Linux, getting my.
you got to talk about the distro Linux, the Destination Linux action figures.
Action figures.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
We got little chest. Whoops, I can't do this backwards. Anyway, they got little chest logos, and I colored in their beards. I bought some. No expense was spared. Okay, with this guy, he's got a black beard and he's got a plasma rifle. So you can guess who this is.
Expected to be shipped in.
right here on the side, it says tuxdigital.com/plasma rifle. Now wait, it gets better.
Oh,
For
my
our
gosh.
barrel-chested PZ swinging up there, we have pugilistic PZ with the peppermint-shaped boxing gloves.
Oh my gosh.
And you
that's
can't
awesome.
see it, but his beard is actually gray. Had to buy a special Sharpie for that one. Now we have Ryan. Here's Ryan. He's got a little Chromebook in his hand. Let's see if I can turn this. There we go. He's got a little Chromebook. Now wait, it's better. I can't show this on the label because it's not good enough. But on the screen of the Chromebook, it says "i3 fill your brains." But my favorite, and not just because I'm sucking up to Rocco, is Distro Hoppin' Rocco. The Shield lost his sniper rifle. He had a sniper rifle too. So here he is running Ubuntu Mate.
Nice.
And now he's running just like that. He's running Pop OS. And you notice he doesn't have a hat because I got his hair gray. He didn't have a beard, so he gets to be the guy with no
Awesome. That is so awesome. Oh my gosh.
It might have been a slow day at the office.
Yeah, I want a set. When can I order them?
Yeah. These figures. I tell you what, no expense was spared. These figures are so expensive that you can't tell it. But Zeb's arms are both left hand arms. His thumb, I didn't notice it until I tried to put something in his hand, and the thumb was upside down.
We just call him Lefty.
I think the August MX snapshot is going to be delayed.
Luckily, I am not in charge of the snapshots. That would be one of the other guys. That'd be Adrian. We might be working on some other stuff to make the August snapshot a little more interesting. So
I'll tell you.
Nice.
That
if you
is
hadn't
awesome.
spotted it, Rocco, Dolphin had put all of those. He's got some fantastic pictures of them all close up. And
yeah,
he's
they
already
might be in the
got them
Telegram feed. So you can check
Yeah,
them
no, I didn't. I got to check them out. Oh my gosh, that
2
is so
days ago,
awesome.
3 days ago.
It's been a while. I think Rocco might have been busy with some family stuff at the time, but
yeah,
me and PZ were talking about it back and forth, and there's a couple of close-ups.
That's good.
Nice.
Really good.
Where do I sign up to have enough time to put together action figures?
You know what? The brilliant part about being in the construction and engineering business is you always have stuff like mounting tape and packing tape. And Rocco shields a gear out of one of my son's building construction sets. And, I basically stole all his stuff. So
Sweet.
Oh my god. All right, it looks like we've come to the end here. We got our last words, and then we'll wrap it up. Joe?
Well, 50-50 chance you may hear Wedding Bells Gecko next week.
Nice.
It's on.
Chicken?
I did not prepare my speech.
Okay.
Team Red?
Elementary.
PZ?
Having been up for 26 hours, I hope I make it for today's episode of Destination Linux. It's going to be a real good one.
Yep. Matt?
Y'all have fun with that distro challenge.
Coward.
He hides behind the mic.
Dave?
May Colin's gecko eat his misbehaving grubs.
Tim, last word.
It was nice to be able to join tonight. It was cool to have some time to do that. Appreciate all of you folks.
Awesome. Colin?
I love action figures.
Dan?
Who doesn't?
Dan?
Okay. Are we doing the Sousa or the Gecko?
Gecko.
We're back to Gecko again?
Dan, when did you leave and come back? Because we were all talking about
You can do Slackware to buy-in if you want.
Actually, I think that's when I had to go and use the restroom.
Okay.
That's when I lost you guys on the...
You had to go and shake your gecko, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Demonetized.
I'll say. Dolphin?
mxlinux.org.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or tuxdigital.com.
Actually, that works. tuxdigital.com/mxlinux.org.
They all work.
They
all
work.
do work.
I'm impressed. They work.
Dan, do you have any audio?
Yes.
I don't know, Mike. You hear? Nothing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'll give it a Gecko a whirl, and we'll see how it goes.
Nice. Awesome. We'll see you back here next week, maybe.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Frank, last word?
I will try to get the Gecko challenge working, and it's been fun playing around with these other distros, so thanks a lot, guys.
Hoomer?
Oh, well, I will be streaming Stellaris in 8 hours in Twitch channel Cregulus.
All right.
So, awesome.
Nice.
Throw a link in the chat, and I'll throw a link up on YouTube, all right?
Okay, I'll do that.
Derek?
Okay, well, I'm going to take a look at Gecko XFCE. I'm sure that's going to go just fine. I'm also going to keep playing with Slackware because Linux should hurt a little.
I think that's going to be more than a little.
It's going to be a lot, I think. Lamer?
Well, first thing, sorry for being late because I was at a baseball game whole night. And second, I'm going to try Gecko Linux, the GNOME version.
Sweet.
Okay.
Nice.
Gecko GNOME. Hope you have a lot of RAM.
Yeah, 8 less RAM, that's it.
That's good enough.
All right. I am down. Well, I'm going to be downloading the Gecko Plasma, and we'll see about it next week. But check us out tomorrow on Destination Linux, 12 noon Eastern. We should be live, hopefully, because we should be on time because Michael's not going to be there. There you go.
Burn. Wow.
All right.
I keep expecting him to pop up and defend himself, but
Yeah,
it'll
he already-
probably be a few minutes after the show's over.
He
It's
bowed
because
out.
we didn't
so-
mention anything about plasma.
Did Michael get Threadripper or did I hear wrong?
You heard wrong.
I think he just likes saying it.
All right. Thank you for all stopping by. Everybody in the chat, all you guys here. We'll see you next week.
These guys.
See you, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye bye, everyone.